Absolutely. Here's a powerful and deeply emotional introductory segment for your speech, How to Raise Your Standards. Written in the raw, passionate, and no excuses tone of Eric Thomas to hook the audience and convince them to lock in and listen until the end. Let me ask you something. How long are you going to keep living beneath your potential? How long are you going to keep making excuses for why you're not where you're supposed to be in life? You keep saying, one day. You keep saying, I'm working on it. But listen to me, one day becomes never if you don't raise your standards today. Some of y'all out here, you're not lazy, you're not dumb, you're not broken, you're just too comfortable with average. That's your problem. You've made peace with mediocrity. You've convinced yourself that good enough is okay. But I came here to tell you good enough is the most dangerous place you can live. It kills dreams, it kills potential, and worst of all, it kills purpose. I didn't come to motivate you today, I came to wake you up. This ain't just another hype speech. This ain't just noise to get you pumped up for 5 minutes and forget it by tomorrow. This right here, this is a line in the sand. After this, you're either gonna keep living like the old you, or you're gonna raise your standard and never look back. You want success, you want respect, you want peace, then you better change what you tolerate. You better stop giving average permission to live in your life. You can't keep asking for greatness with average effort. You can't keep dreaming big with small discipline. You've been talking the talk for years. Now it's time to match your walk with your words. I need you to lock in. I need you to listen to every single word of this message like your life depends on it. Because for some of you, it does. Your business, your relationship, your future, your confidence. It's all on the line. This ain't theory. This is survival. This is elevation. This is about stepping into your full calling and refusing to die with dreams still inside you. So stay with me. Don't just listen. Absorb. Don't just nod. Decide. Because by the time we finish this, if you're serious, if you're ready, you won't be the same person that hit play. Let's get to work. You've been living too low for too long. You've been surrounded by average so long that you started thinking average is normal. You've been clapping for mediocre effort. You've been applauding yourself for showing up halfway. And you wonder why the results don't match the dreams you talk about. But I'm here to tell you, average is not your portion. Average is not who you were created to be. Average is the enemy, and until you decide to treat it like the enemy, you will never rise. The problem is, you've made peace with average. You've made it a roommate. You've let it live in your finances, your relationships, your work ethic, your fitness, your mindset. You let it in one area and now it's squatting everywhere. But I need you to make a decision today, not a maybe, not a let me think about it, not a when life slows down. Right now, in this moment, you need to draw a line and say, I will no longer tolerate average in my life. Period. You don't get elite outcomes with basic habits. You don't live a legendary life by putting in a casual effort. You don't win championships by training when it's convenient. You think the greats became great by doing what everyone else was doing. No, they looked at the standard the world called normal, and they said, that's not enough for me. They weren't born with something extra. They just refused to settle for less. And some of you, you're not failing because you lack skill or talent or resources. You're failing because you've accepted a low bar. You've allowed your feelings to set your standard. You don't feel like working today, so you don't. You don't feel like waking up early, so you don't. You don't feel like pushing yourself harder, so you just coast. But hear me, feelings lie. Feelings will rob you blind. Feelings will make you waste your potential. You've got to stop living by how you feel and start living by the standard you set. You say you want to be successful, but what's your definition of success? Because if your definition of success still includes cutting corners, hitting snooze, blaming others, procrastinating, avoiding discomfort, you don't want success, you want comfort. You want the appearance of ambition without the sacrifice that comes with it. But real success, real excellence, that costs something. It costs convenience. It costs laziness. It costs your ego. You can't keep clapping for effort when you know you've got more in you. I'm not impressed by 70% effort when you were built for 100. I'm not celebrating halfway when you were designed to dominate. Stop throwing yourself a party every time you do the bare minimum. You don't need more pats on the back. You need to be pushed. You need someone to call you out. And if nobody around you will do it, you better be the one. You better be the one to raise your standard and hold yourself to it, even when no one is watching. You know what happens when you raise your standard? Everything around you either rises with it, or it leaves. When you raise your standard, people start to treat you different. Opportunities shift. Environments change. Doors open. Not because the world got better, but because you did. You started walking different, talking different, moving with intention, living with purpose, and the world responds to that. But you've got to make that decision. Nobody's going to do it for you. No coach, no mentor, no video, no book you. You've got to say, enough is enough. I'm done playing small. I'm done making excuses. I'm done watching other people pass me up while I sit on potential. You're not too late. You're not too far gone. But you've got to stop running from discipline and start chasing dominance. Because the truth is, nobody remembers average, nobody studies average, nobody honors average. You don't get legacy with average. You don't change your bloodline with average. You don't break curses, build empires, or change lives with average. You rise by demanding more, first from yourself, then from everything and everyone around you. So today, you've got one job: raise the bar, and then live like that new standard is the only option you've got. Everybody wants to look like a champion in the spotlight, but very few are willing to train like one in the dark. See, it's easy to act disciplined when there's an audience. It's easy to be motivated when people are watching, when the music's playing, when the cameras are on. But the real you shows up when nobody's in the room. The standard you truly live by reveals itself in private, when it's just you, your choices, and your future. That's the test. That's where the separation happens. That's where the greats are born. What do you demand from yourself when no one's clapping? When there's no applause, no paycheck, no Instagram post to make it look pretty, because that's when your standards either rise or collapse. You want to talk about raising your standards. Start by taking full ownership of those hidden moments. That's where the war is won. You don't build greatness by performing when it's convenient. You build it in silence. You build it when the alarm goes off and your body says stay in bed, but your purpose says get up. You build it when your emotions say take a break, but your vision says keep pushing. You build it in the gym when you go for that extra rep nobody sees. You build it when you turn off the TV, open the book, do the reps, write the plan, and there's no applause for it. That's the real work, and that's where 99% of people check out. Everybody wants elite, but not everybody wants to pay for elite. They want to raise their standards with words, not with work. But raising your standard means you do it regardless of mood, recognition, or reward. You do it because it's who you are now, not something you try when it feels good. That's why discipline is the game changer, because discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline only cares if you finish what you said you would. Let me tell you this. Accountability is not about what you do when the lights are on. It's about who you are when there are no lights at all. That's character. That's real integrity. Can you still show up strong when the motivation is gone? Can you stick to your standard when quitting would be easier, when nobody would blame you if you gave up? And don't get it twisted. You're not hiding anything. Just because the world doesn't see what you're doing doesn't mean it won't show. Because everything done in private eventually shows up in public. Your habits leak, your attitude leaks, your results expose your routines. You can't fake that. So if you want a different level of outcome, you need a different level of standard when nobody's watching. The ones who win aren't lucky, They aren't chosen, they just kept showing up. They kept giving 100% when everyone else settled for 70%. They kept pushing when everybody else said take it easy. While you were waiting for motivation, they were building momentum. While you were hoping for inspiration, they were living in execution. And now you're watching them live the life you could have had. But you didn't want to sacrifice for it. So what are you going to do? Are you going to keep pretending your standard is high while your habits are low? Or are you finally going to draw that line and say, from now on, I show up like it matters, even when no one's watching, even when it hurts, even when I feel like quitting? Because that's where champions are built. That's where elevation happens, behind closed doors when no one will ever know but you. You can't raise your standard only in public and expect a private reward. You've got to raise it where it's hardest, where it's lonely, where it feels like nobody sees and nobody cares. Because that's where you become unstoppable. That's where you stop chasing motivation and start mastering consistency. That's when your actions become louder than your excuses. So I need you to stop performing and start becoming. Stop acting disciplined and start living disciplined. Stop waiting to be seen and start working like you already are. Because once you master that private grind, you'll never need validation again. Don't tell me you want to win if your daily habits don't match the dream. Don't tell me you've got a vision, you've got goals, you've got something you're chasing. But every time I look at your life, your actions are moving in the opposite direction. That's not a vision, that's a fantasy. That's not discipline, that's deception. If you're serious about raising your standards, you've got to get brutally honest with yourself. Do your daily habits reflect the future you say you want? You can't keep saying you want to be a millionaire, and you're still waking up at 10 a.m. You can't say you want to be in elite shape and your nutrition is trash. You can't say you want a strong, unshakable mindset but spend hours a day scrolling, escaping, numbing. You say you want peace, you want growth, you want success, but everything you do is keeping you stuck in the same cycle. If the vision is real, your life'll better start proving it. It's not enough to want it. Everybody wants it. It's not enough to post it. Everybody posts it. What separates the talkers from the doers is alignment. Is your life aligned with what you say matters most to you? Because if it's not, if your habits are casual but your goals are massive, you're living in conflict. And when you live in conflict, you create frustration. You wake up angry, you move through life bitter, you feel like something's off, and it is. It's the gap between who you are and who you said you would be. You've got to close that gap. You've got to get to a point where your standards are no longer based on how you feel, or what's trending, or what's easy. Your standard needs to be rooted in your future. Every single day, you've got to ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now aligned with the person I'm becoming? If it's not, cut it. If it's not, correct it. If it's not, replace it. Raising your standard means you stop making decisions based on comfort and start making them based on conviction. You stop doing what's convenient and start doing what's consistent. You stop waking up and letting life happen to you, and you start showing up with intention, with structure, with clarity, because success isn't a result, it's a reflection of what you repeatedly do. So don't talk to me about goals if you won't talk to me about habits. Don't talk to me about legacy if you won't talk about discipline. And this isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. Nobody's asking you to be flawless. But if you've been saying you want change, if you've been saying you want next level results, then your life needs to start looking like that future. It's in the way you talk to yourself. It's in the way you plan your day. It's in the way you protect your energy, your time, your mind. You can't keep doing random things and expect intentional outcomes. You've got to rewire how you move. That might mean changing your environment. That might mean letting go of people who keep pulling you back into your old self. That might mean rewriting your morning routine, cutting out distractions, setting uncomfortable goals, saying no to things that feel good but don't serve your purpose. And yeah, it's gonna feel hard at first, because you're breaking patterns. But if you don't sacrifice for your vision will become the sacrifice. Stop chasing motivation and start building systems. Stop looking for inspiration and start executing discipline, because motivation fades, hype dies, but systems keep moving, habits keep building, discipline keeps winning. And if you want to raise your standards, if you want to live on another level, then you've got to create habits that don't ask for your permission every day. They just run, because that's who you are now. So from this moment forward, if it doesn't align, it doesn't belong. If it doesn't reflect your vision, it gets cut. No more double life, no more part-time commitment, no more talking big and living small. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And if you want different, you've got to move different. Some of you keep wondering why you're not growing, why you're not elevating, why you're not breaking through. You've been doing the work, you've been putting in the hours, you've been grinding, but there's no shift. Let me tell you something real. It's not always about working harder. Sometimes it's about what you're refusing to let go of. You can't raise your standards while still holding onto low-level habits, low-level people, and low-level thinking. If you want to go higher, you've got to start cutting. You can't take everybody with you. That's just the truth, and I know it's hard. I know you've got history with some people. I know you've shared moments, shared pain, shared growth. But if they're not growing with you, they're holding you down. And I'm not saying you need to be arrogant or cold, but I am saying you need to be focused. There's a version of you that's trying to break through, and it's suffocating under the weight of your old attachments. If someone in your circle doesn't challenge you, elevate you, or push you forward, they don't belong in the season you're stepping into. It's not personal, it's principle, because high standards demand high environments. You can't build a kingdom while hanging around people who are comfortable living in chaos. You're trying to discipline your mind, but every time you get around them, you fall back into distraction. You're trying to stay focused, but every time your phone buzzes, it's drama, it's gossip, it's noise. You think you're loyal, but really, you're just scared. You're scared to grow alone. You're scared to stand out. You're scared to be misunderstood. But hear me, you weren't called to blend in. You were called to rise. And rising means you have to let go of anything that doesn't serve the next level of your life. You can't elevate with your hands full of dead weight. That goes for people, yes, but it also goes for your excuses. You can't keep saying, "This is just how I am," and expect transformation. You can't keep saying, "I've always struggled with this," and expect breakthrough. You've got to let that language go. You've got to bury that story. If it doesn't empower you, it doesn't deserve to stay. Your next level requires new language, new beliefs, new standards. You've got to stop rehearsing weakness and start declaring strength. The world doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you demand, and you can't demand more from life while accepting less from yourself. And let's talk about comfort, because comfort is a liar. Comfort whispers you're doing enough. Comfort tells you take it easy. Comfort convinces you to settle for just surviving instead of pushing to thrive. But nothing significant grows in comfort. If your life is too comfortable, I guarantee your standards are too low. You've got to disrupt your routine. You've got to shock your system. You've got to put yourself in environments that stretch you, challenge you, pull something deeper out of you. You think elevation feels good. No elevation hurts. Growth feels like sacrifice. Success feels like isolation at times. Progress feels like losing the very things you once leaned on, and that's okay. Because every time you let go of something that doesn't align with your vision, you make room for something that does. You open the door for new discipline, new relationships, new opportunities. But none of that can find you if your life is still full of the old stuff you refuse to release. So this is the part where you've got to be real with yourself. What are you still holding onto that doesn't reflect your standard anymore? Who are you still making space for out of guilt, not growth? What habits are you still allowing that no longer serve the direction you're headed? You can't pretend not to know. Deep down, you already know. You've just been waiting for a permission slip to cut it loose. Well, here it is. If it's not in alignment, it's in the way. If it doesn't push you forward, it's pulling you back. If it doesn't feed your future, it's draining your present. And when you finally get serious about cutting it off, something shifts. Your energy changes, your focus sharpens, your results compound, and that's when you realize you weren't stuck. You were just surrounded.